Welcome back to the Barreto family. I'm excited to be here with you guys today. This is an OCC video. I'm excited. We haven't done one of those in a little while, but I will say I have the plans already for the This or That series. I'm really excited. I'm going to film some of those coming up here soon. And so be on the lookout if you want to check out those This or That. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. But I wanted to share and answer various questions today. So I do have them printed and ready. Remember that this is just one opinion. So I love to give you guys my perspective. I think it's valuable to hear the perspective of someone who's been in the countries, or at least a few of the countries, that receive these shoe boxes. But please remember that this is not an end-all be-all. These are my opinions, my thoughts. But if God puts something else on your heart, never let something that I say deter you, if that makes sense. Anyway, so let's jump right into it. This first one is actually a comment that I wanted to read because it is a great clarification. I think it's so hard to explain the materials and the resources. And so Mark made a comment. He said, the comment about choosing whether to make a $6 donation toward the Greatest Journey Discipleship Program sounds like maybe people think that you donate $6. The Greatest Journey materials will accompany each box you pack. If that's what people were thinking, I think there's some confusion. This $6 donation will allow a child to participate in the Greatest Journey, but it doesn't have to be the same child who receives your box. So I've tried to explain this, and if I mix something up, please comment down below, have grace. But there is, I believe it's $10 that they ask you to provide with a shoebox. That's for shipping and processing and helping in general. Then they offer the option of paying $6 to donate a Greatest Journey discipleship booklet. But that booklet does not get given to your child with the box. That booklet goes to the pastors that hand boxes out, but then whoever comes to the Greatest Journey discipleship, those are the kids that get the booklets. So unfortunately, I don't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but unfortunately, not all kids choose to come back. So they come for the big party, they hear the gospel, which is incredible. But then many of them, since it was the first time ever coming to the church, they may not return or for whatever reason. But whatever kids do come for that 12 weeks, you send the resources and materials to provide a book for one more child. I will say us personally, praise the Lord, we have never been without enough materials for kids. But I have heard of pastors that have had to make copies or that they just didn't have enough books for all of the kids that showed up. We personally do not give books to the 2 to 4-year-olds, and honestly, even up to like 6 years old until they can really write. We make a different activity using the same story so that we don't, I don't want to say waste the materials, but so that we put the materials to the best use possible. So we tend to err on the side of let's go with the oldest kids to youngest kids, and we give as many books as we have, but then the absolute youngest kids, we always have a supplemental activity because it's better for their age anyway. Long-winded explanation, but hopefully what Mark said and what I've explained helps clarify a little bit. Jill said, I have trouble with wow items for boys. What do you think about a baseball glove and a baseball as a wow item for 5 to 9 or 10 to 14? Wonderful. Baseball is known worldwide at this point. However, it's not necessarily always played, and so finding those items isn't always on hand, but they would love it if they got that. So any form of sports equipment is great for 10 to 14 and even 5 to 9. Legos are great. I've seen them. They always enjoy Legos. I'm trying to think what else I've seen those age groups really kind of gravitate towards. But I think those are kind of the two biggest like wow items that I've seen kids absolutely just flock to. So I apologize if I say this name wrong. Shashira said, other than a plush doll or soccer ball, have you noticed if there are any favorite wow items for each age group? And what is the favorite non-wow item? So I will say I'm going to do that This or That series so that I go through every age group, 2 to 4 boys, 2 to 4 girls, and talk a little bit about some of the like specific things that I've seen that are preferred from just what I've seen. So I will do that to talk about wow items. So I'm not going to jump into that completely yet. Subscribe so you don't miss that. But I will say non-wow items, some of the favorite things I've seen, colored pencils, markers, gel pens, like those just tend to be exciting. Boys and girls. I will say girls more for the gel pens, but colored pencils, markers tend to be really exciting. Deodorant for the older kids. I know that's not a wow item, but it's something that is more costly and they often have to share with siblings. And so they enjoy getting one of their own. And then water bottles. Those are just a really practical item. And oftentimes the United States has a lot of different options and things in terms of water bottles that they've not seen before or that haven't gotten to other countries yet. And so it's fun to get some of those just different and fun examples of water bottles. Another question. This one is anonymous and it's a little bit long. So I'm going to read it and I might pause throughout to give a little bit of answer. It says, I recently saw a comment on a group I'm in regarding a lady who got a response back of a child who received her box, as she was putting it, standing in a well-furnished apartment that didn't seem poor. She was surprised at this, although she did admit that she used the word seem strongly. But she was just wanting to know and have some clarification on the circumstances of the children the boxes are given to. I have also in the past had comments from people close to me who know that I do OCC, such as photos I saw of kids getting these boxes and they look very well dressed, and another, I always thought people living the island life were happy with the simplicity of life. I never know how to respond. So if you could shed some light on how you would respond about these kids' circumstances, it would be greatly appreciated. People seem to understand the gospel spreading to areas where it has never been or scarcely heard. And as a Christian, I think that's wonderful, but I also understand people wanting the boxes to go to those that need the materials the most, especially for those who are not Christian but want to help. What reassurance that these children are in need of the physical items could you give? So I will say it is important to realize that OCC specifically is not an aid ministry. So the goal of it is not to give relief. Samaritan's Purse has other outlets and other areas that do medical relief and food and specific relief. This particular project is mostly focused on spreading the gospel. However, they do have policies where they look for the regions in an area that are the most in need. So I think it is important to realize that it's not an aid relief. I did look up the mission of OCC on their website, and this is what it says. The mission of Operation Christmas Child is to demonstrate God's love in a tangible way to children in need around the world. Through this project, Samaritan's Purse partners with the local church worldwide to share the good news of Jesus Christ and to make disciples of the nations. So yes, they are children in need, but the main focus is making disciples and sharing the gospel. So I think that's important to realize that it's not necessarily that this is an aid relief. However, I also know that when Samaritan's Purse sends boxes, so for instance, let's talk about Bogota because that's where I have the most experience. They send thousands of boxes to Bogota. Well, the people that are in country in Bogota, the actual project coordinators here, do a lot of research ahead of time and they send those boxes to the most in need areas. So for instance, here in Bogota we have, I don't want to call it a class system because that sounds so wrong, but it's literally like economic status levels and it's 1 to 6. My husband and I live in a status level 3 neighborhood. Our church is in a status level 1-2 neighborhood. What that means is that all of their utilities are subsidized by the government, and so on. So when those Samaritan's Purse boxes are shipped, the coordinators ask for church pastors in those neighborhoods, and those boxes must be given in the neighborhood where the church is. So when we apply for boxes, we have to tell them the address of our church and where we're going to hand them out. We can't apply for boxes for our church in the class 1-2 neighborhood and then bring them to a class 3-4 neighborhood and give them out. They do the best they can to make sure that the boxes where they go to the kids that are most in need. However, worldwide, those needs change. And family to family, those needs change. You might have a family that's living in a class 1-2 neighborhood that is a little bit better off, but they're still considered more in need than a family that's living in a class 6 neighborhood. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So yes, they do the best they can. Is it perfect? No, but they do try to direct those towards the most in need kids. The other thing I will say with that is, it's so interesting. When I served in the jungles of Ecuador, there was only one paved road and everything else was dirt roads. And you saw such a variety of need in those families. There was one house that was immaculate, gorgeous. Like literally, if you went inside it, you would not know that you were in the jungle of Ecuador because it was just so well furnished and finished. And literally 3 doors down, it was a house that is put together with lean-tos and bamboo that's been tied together. So both of those families are living in the same neighborhood, and the family that had the expensive house was actually on the verge of bankruptcy, and the parents were working 12 to 15-hour days. And so both of those families are so in need. But if you just saw a snapshot photo, you wouldn't understand the need of the families. So I think we have to be cautious to not judge a book by its cover or a picture for just seeing a picture. I will also say that I noticed, especially in Ecuador, when you do an event, the kids come in their very best clothes possible. They might have one beautiful dress, but they know that there's going to be everybody from the community there, and so they show up super nicely dressed. Or when they go home, they pick the best area of their house and put on their absolute best clothes because they want to look beautiful when they send the picture. And I think that's the same in the United States. I'm not going to take a picture for my grandma in like an area that doesn't look pretty. I'm going to try to look my best and look pretty and pick a spot. When I film these videos, I clean up the things that are here because I want to put my best foot forward. And so I think it just speaks to the fact that we need to be cautious, but know that this project does the best they can to make sure that those boxes go to kids in need, but also understand that we never understand or know the needs of the kids. And so just have grace and pray and trust that wherever the box goes, that's where God needed it to be, and that's the kid that needed to get it. But those are definitely tricky questions to answer, and I hope I've given a little bit of insight, a little bit of an idea to how you can kind of go for that question, how you can kind of respond to it a little bit. Okay, this video has gotten so long because I think I'm long-winded, but you guys also just asked really good questions, and I wanted to take the time to go into them. So I'm going to wait, and I will do the second set of questions in a part 2, and that's going to come out tomorrow or the next day, so just be waiting for that. But these are just some tips and tricks and ideas for OCC and just to answer some questions. Again, if you have more questions, put them down below and be ready for those this or that's. I can't do it yet because I have a specific way that I'm going to do it, and I physically can't do it yet, but I have them all written and planned and know what this or that's I'm excited to share for each age group and each gender. So be ready for that content coming soon. See you guys on the next video.